Okay, hometown, we got a real special guest for you today on The One Thing. Today's guest, Cameron Wood, live from the Ashland office. Cameron, welcome.
Hi, Dean. It's I'm excited about being live from the Ashland office, and hello to everyone out there in hometown land.
Yeah, man. So the miracle of modern technology is going to enable us to put this thing out to so many people and to share some great wisdom that you have accumulated over the years. I know that you have been in the business for quite some time. I believe. What year did you graduate from the great university up there in Charlottesville, the University of Virginia? What year was that?
The little academy up there, the little Scholastic Institute. Yeah, it
That's
was
right.
1969.
1969. And did you get in the real estate business right after that?
I did. I did. I worked a little bit privately in the land and timber business, and the gentleman I was working for retired, and OSHA regulations came in. You know, the government decided they would interfere in free enterprise. So I suggested that he retire, and he thought that was a good idea. Our little company didn't owe anybody any money. He said, well, what are you going to do? You're too young to retire. And I said, well, maybe I'll go in the real estate business. Everybody's been asking us about buying a piece of land here and land there, and maybe they want some timberland. So I'll go to school and get my license and see how it works out. So in 1972, February of 1972, I became a real estate broker.
How about that?
And so my license number is about the same as my age, I think. That's how long it's been. But,
yeah, that's great. That is great. So almost 50 years. I guess it's coming up on 50 years, right?
Yeah, I've got a big anniversary coming up, so I'm trying to decide where I'm going to go celebrate.
That's good. Well, you can come right down the hall and celebrate with me anytime. You know that.
I'll go to the hometown bar.
That's it. That's perfect.
But it's been,
well, Cameron, what we've been doing, we've been fortunate to have several people come on, and we're talking about the one thing that sets you apart, the one thing that makes people want to work with you, and the one thing that makes you successful. And obviously, in almost 50 years of doing this, and just I've been around you now for, I don't know, hell, I've known you for 20 of those years, maybe. Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
And just the satisfied customers, the people that are in the business that respect you, the people that have worked with you, I'm sure there's a lot of things, but what would you say the one thing is for you, Cameron, that sets you apart in this business?
I think, Dean, and I don't want to bring up any old cliches here with hometown, but I think it's treating people the way they want to be treated. Now, having said that, I think of myself as a people person.
Yeah.
We are salespeople and retailers of a sort. So I think listening more than talking, although people accuse me of talking a lot, but listening is important, most important. But I think being a people person, and then along with that, I've always felt that you needed to know your product. So I have probably taken more courses than anybody I can think of in continuing education, and not just what RAR or NAR or the state board requires, but taking courses that relate to real estate. Even today, you can learn something from everyone you meet. And there's always a course out there. When you think you're an expert, you can take another course and find something that you missed. And so when your client comes to you and asks you a question, you either know the answer or you know where to get the answer for it. So I think perseverance is the thing, whether it's education or just persevering and trying to meet your client's needs.
Well, it's interesting because I think of you as one of the most knowledgeable people in the business that I've ever met. And I hope you know that. And I mean that sincerely. And yet you told me you're taking a class tomorrow, right?
Yes,
I mean,
all day long. And I I also, Dean, hold one of the very, very early real estate appraisal licenses. Um, I got my license. I'm number 33 when the state required you to get a license to do appraisal.
uh-huh.
But back in the day, back in my time, and I know the world has dramatically changed with social media and internet service, but back in my time, you really had to understand how to value property. You really had to understand the economy. So not only did I take continuing education for my real estate license, but I also take it an equal amount or more, actually, more hours for the appraisal license. So that while I'm not the appraiser that does all the mortgage appraisals, I do a lot of appraisal work for estates, families. Um, Court work is important, and you begin to understand how to value a property, and you begin to understand the components that make up the product that you're going to be offering.
Yeah.
It gives you a lot more contacts, and those appraisals often lead to sales,
Sure.
which is a good thing. So,
And a lot of expertise when it comes down to talking to somebody about valuing their property for sale, or for, not just for an appraised value, but for the market value. It gives you a lot of expertise and credibility there, right?
that's right. And
Yeah, that's
and
good.
the interesting thing is, it's knowing the product, um, and knowing the people, but it's also having the expertise so that those people gain confidence in you
Yeah.
and stay with you. I know that we have classes at Hometown, and having them ever since I've been with Hometown, 20 years, about how to deal with conflicts, how to deal with objections to your valuation. But all of that extra work, all of the classes that I take outside of the requirements lead to helping you convince the client that you know the product. And of course, we're dealing with the most important sale or purchase that most people will ever make in their life.
That's right.
And we're dealing with one of the, whatever it is, 7 human needs, and that's shelter. Food and shelter are the 2 big ones.
Yeah.
And so it's important that you have an understanding, so that you can, when people have those questions, you can give them a confident answer.
You said you're a people person. You said that was something that really led to your success. Were you always a people person? Did you have to make some adjustments along the way? And what would you tell somebody who's new in the business or trying to get things going? How do they become a people person?
I think, of course, some of it is just your natural personality,
Right.
and your upbringing to be a little bit old fashioned about it. But we had a young man here at Hometown that really wasn't a people person, and he went out and he joined a couple of clubs, and he learned how to become a public speaker. And he found out that being a public speaker is a way to overcome your fears of that other person standing in front of you.
Right.
You know how to communicate. It's the communication side of it. Now, I will say that that treating the people the way you want to be treated, as the Hometown motto, is extremely important. But I think that it's sort of a human nature thing, that you want people to respond to you in a friendly way, so you give them a friendly demeanor,
Yeah.
and they will respond back. I have had lots of conflicts in my career. You're going to have them,
Right.
but you just about count on it. You're going to have them. A lot of times, in the course of my career, you get called upon to appear in court because there's a dispute.
Sure.
That may or may not involve you directly, but if you can get on the witness stand and speak with confidence to the judge, and help people satisfy the conflict they're having, it just builds that confidence in you to do it again and to say, hey, we got a problem here, but we can overcome this problem. We can work this out. We don't have to fight and go away enemies. We can make this work for both of us.
What do you think that if back to our original title, The One Thing, you've been around, you've been with this company now for 20 years or so, you've been with other companies, you've been around a lot of different agents since the early 70s. What's the one thing that you think that causes agents to not be successful in the business? What do you think that causes them to sort of drop out and we have such an attrition in this industry?
I think you've got to develop a perseverance. You've got to persevere. It's not a lot of friends that I have that went into the business and left in a month or 3 months or 6 months suddenly found themselves, well, I didn't get a paycheck this week. Yeah. So you need to understand. You need to look in the mirror when you get up in the morning and say, I don't necessarily get a paycheck on Friday.
That's right.
So you have to, one, be financially responsible as much as you can, knowing that the paychecks are not necessarily regular. You make a nice sale, you sell $1 million property, and you get a $60,000 paycheck, commission or whatever. You don't go out and buy that brand new luxury vehicle the next day, because it may be a year before you get the next one.
That's right.
That size. So I think you just have to persevere. You have to be somewhat frugal, and you have to want to go to work every day. A lot of my close friends, who are still my close friends, that are my age, that were in the real estate business for 2 or 3 years, thought, well, it's a beautiful sunny day today, and today is a gorgeous day outside. Wednesday's going to be nasty, they say, but today is gorgeous. So I think I'll just take off and go fishing today. Well, you can't do that. You got to go to work, and you need to learn that you may have to work on weekends sometimes. You may have to work on holidays.
Yeah.
Because you need to be there when the other people are off. My first company, I had one partner. We were equal partners in the company here in Ashland, so I haven't strayed too far. We opened at 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning. The office was open. And we closed at 6 o'clock. And we had one office administrator. And she came to work at 7:30 and left at 5:30. But either myself or my partner or I were always there. So when the person was going to work, because we didn't have AuthentiSign, they were going to work, so they'd have to stop by and sign an offer,
right,
sign an addendum,
whole different ballgame.
Just pick up papers, So it's a work ethic. You've got to have a serious work ethic, I think. You just can't say, well, gee whiz, I didn't get any phone calls yesterday, so I'm just going to take off today and go shopping.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I see about you, Cameron, and I've known this for 20 years, is you consistently come into the office. You consistently work. You've got a good business. You could probably do other things, but that's something that's different about you. And a lot of the newer agents, they and maybe the newer generation can get away with more virtual stuff, but I've always thought that you coming in here and being here was part of your success as well. And I think for some of the people that are, especially the newer agents that are listening to this and watching this, the synergy and the education by hearing and overhearing is so powerful. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, I have always gone to the office. I have never attempted to work at home. I will say that so far as the social media and virtual reality, et cetera, um, I bought the first IBM XT computer. Now, probably never heard of that.
Uh-uh.
And right. And we went live in the early 70s. The early 70s. We went live with a computer. We were connected to RAR via phone modem. And you had a little printer on the telephone that printed off the MLS listing, or you got the book once a week.
Right.
The new listings. But you're exactly right, Dean. You never know when somebody's going to walk in that front door and say, I want to buy a house. And I see it in Ashland all the time. Is there an agent here? And or when you walk by and say, hey, Cameron, I found an answer for you on that particular piece of whatever land it was. And you and I end up sharing a deal. I have done a lot of work within Hometown's other companies, RCI to be exact, by being present and learning what they do and having any of the principals in the company come by and say, Cameron, come by the office and they say, we're looking for such and such. Well, somebody else could have been here and picked up that deal, or I went out and I found it. Just having the people around you that are working to the same goal that you're working for is important. And you say, well, I can do that at home. But I find that when you're at home, you got the honeydews. You look out the window and the leaves need to be raked.
A lot of distractions.
A lot of distractions.
Yeah.
An awful lot of distractions. And you miss the informal team. You don't just come into the office to be a formal team. We all have teams. You've got them. I have one. Will Chenault and I are a team.
Yeah.
But you come in so that the little teams become a big one, and you start to share not just information, but you share client information, needs, wants, and bingo. I'm going out on a presentation tomorrow, and I think it might fit that property you were looking for, Dean.
Right.
So it's just having, and people soon learn where to find you.
Right. That's right.
My COIs know where to find you.
Yeah, right there where you're sitting right now.
Sitting, yes, yeah.
If I was going to hunt you, I think that's where I'd set my stand right there.
Right, yeah, exactly, right by the door. Or inside the door. Well, you couldn't get in my office to set your stand, but anyway.
We won't comment on it. It looks nice in the video here. It looks really good.
Comment about that, but yes, I think obviously because of my age, I'm old school. I came along when there were only 3 major brokerage firms in Hanover County, and there were only 3 real estate appraisers.
Wow.
And here's something else. When I first started, I started in a firm that had a broker appraiser and a sales agent appraiser who was much younger. And I shadowed him every day. Every time that he went out He said, well, Cameron, I've got to go out to Louis, or I got to go to Mechanicsville to measure up a house to appraise. And you want to ride along? Yes, sir. I jumped right in there with him.
Yeah.
And I held one end of the tape measure. I watched him measure every room in the house. I watched him photograph an entire house. And I suddenly realized that he was learning the product. There wasn't any guessing about it. He had the tape measure, he had the numbers, he knew how to do the calculations. And most of the time, that work he was doing was not for a formal appraisal, but for a listing presentation. And when he showed up and his competitors showed up, he had every fact and figure about that particular property. And when he went to sell it and his clients met him or other realtors showed it,
right,
had everything at his fingertips. And when it came time for the mortgage, he could legitimately say, well, to the other appraiser who appraised for the mortgage, well, maybe you missed a little something here. He had something to hang his hat on.
right.
And I did that as long as I was with that firm. Even after I got my own licenses, we still did that. And I remember distinctly for several years, I would do this work for him and he'd buy me lunch. That was the pay. So, but he was, I was learning from him.
Sure.
And he never once thought, this is important too, he never once thought that by his sharing his knowledge with me that he was diminished at all. He didn't fear competition from me, and I have learned not to fear competition. Competition is good. It keeps you sharp, keeps you on your toes, and makes you want to go to work. Because if you're not there, somebody else will be there to take your place.
That's right, for sure.
And
well, Cameron, I mean, I think that this has been fabulous. I don't want to take more of your time. I mean, what I'm taking away here is never stop learning. I mean, you've been in the business as long as there are very few people that have the expertise that you have, and yet here you are tomorrow going to an all-day class to enhance your thing. And I think so many people, they get in the business, they take 1 or 2 classes, they think they got it and they're going to roll with it. And I think that's a mistake. I think treat people the way, I mean, from the day I met Mike Chenault, from the day I met Bonnie Chenault, I knew they were those kind of people. But when Mike started this company and put that on the door and in every office where you treat people the way you want to be treated, I mean, and be a people person and do the right thing and take the high road, I watch you do that every day. And I know that's been a huge part of your success, and those that follow that and that use you as a mentor continue to do that, and they find success every day. Knowing the product, and persevering. How many cycles have there been, ups and downs, since you've been in this business? It's unbelievable. Some worse than others.
Yes.
But
I can remember, Dean, talking about persevering. I can remember as a developer owing the bank here in Hanover $1 million
oh God,
at 18% interest.
Oh my God.
And the houses that I built, we were financing them, first mortgages, 20% down and 14% interest was a great rate.
What a deal.
That was a deal, 14%. And when it got down to 8%, I built my own house, and I thought that really was a deal.
But you stole the money.
I stole it, thought I'd stole it. But the cycles, you can pretty much figure about 7 years, up and down. You just draw the chart. It's a perfect sine curve, So you have to plan for that. Now, I will tell you that when times get tight, you can still sell real estate. And because people have that need, you go back to that basic need. Some people always have to move.
Yeah, for sure.
How tight the market is, we're in a mobile market, mobile society rather. and people need to move for various reasons. So don't fear the cycles. Just be prepared or persevere. Just
That's
be
exactly
prepared.
right.
And I can't stress taking the classes, night classes, day classes. Uh, you know, outside the area of selling. Just wetlands. I took a wetlands class, and just last week.
Yeah.
And you just need to look and do it, and you'll make yourself a better agent. You'll make yourself more money. It's easy.
Well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for what you do. Thanks for being a mentor to me and to everybody here in Ashland. If you're a hometown realtor and you ever get a chance to shake Cameron's hand and maybe sit down and talk to him for a little while, please take advantage of that opportunity, because he's a great guy. He's got some wonderful stories. Right before this, we were sharing some good stories, and a guy that's given a ton to the community, a ton to this business. And if when I have been in the business for 50 years, if people can look at me and put me even in the same any kind of conversation with Cameron Wood, I know that I've done very well, and you'd feel the same way, I'm sure. So Cameron, thanks a ton for your time today, and many more years. We'll celebrate your 75th year in real estate before too long. It'll be here before we know it. And again, I can't thank you enough. See you. Have a good afternoon.
Tell them to come by and see me.
All right. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye.